Welcome to episode number 3 already of the Casticers. My name is RoseBND and I'm joined once again by the lovely ThomSonic. Yeah, you hear that, we're back again in your headphones. Today, quickly, through the schedule, we're going to talk about the LEC, because the regular split has just ended. We're going to go into the, I think it's called the knockout stage, I'm not exactly sure. We're going to talk a little bit about what's going on in the Elite Series, with week 3 just starting as well. And after that, of course, we need to talk about some drama, guys, because that's why we're here, you know? That's why you're here as well, I think. You're not going to listen to us talk about esports only, we need some drama. So, things happened overseas in America with the LCS, we'll get into it later, and then after that we're going to talk a little bit more about Hogwarts Legacy, the new Harry Potter single-player game that just got released. And Thomas, I can see you like nearly smiling already. First of all, how you been, man?
I've been doing great. I've been playing a certain game about the Wizards, and I've been loving my time. It feels like I'm revisiting my childhood. So I'm actually very, very happy. The LEC doesn't make me really happy because both our hearts cry really loudly. But otherwise, I'm extremely happy about everything. I'm happy. Happy.
LEC is a bit sad. I think you worded that correctly. I think I've never rooted as hard for Fnatic as I have this split, and then they legit just shit the bed.
It's like it works like the opposite way.
You know, it's always like when you put so much faith into something, that's when it like gets you the hardest. It caught me at a vulnerable moment, not gonna lie. Of course, like after like 2 weeks, people were like saying it, right? Like, oh my god, what if they don't make top 10 or top 8? I mean, what if they don't make it? And you're like, surely Fnatic will make top 8. Come on, man, they're not gonna like miss out on that. And then week 3 ends and all you're left with is just an empty void.
I mean, I have a genuine question to you, right?
Yeah.
What is worse, not getting into the top 8 or not getting into the top 8 because Astralis ended above you?
I remember us shit-talking Astralis so hard last week, and like those words have come back so hard. I was like, oh my god, Astralis does not deserve a spot in the LEC. They're just a placeholder team. They always lose.
They are though.
And now, but they got top 8. Like, we can't say shit. Oh, by the way, for the people out of touch, LEC format changed. I'm not going to talk about it because there's way too much information, but basically the gist of it, top 8 makes the new group stage or / knockout stage thingy. So 2 teams have left us, and those teams were Fnatic and Excel. Excel with a 1-8 record and Fnatic with 2-7 record. It was disaster. It was crying. And as ThomSonic said, Astralis actually made it above those teams. So yeah, I think that hurts more, honestly. Like, making top 8,
right?
Not making top 8 sucks. But not making top 8 because Astralis finished above you, that must like sting super hard, not gonna lie.
And if you want to know how the exact things work with the bracket and stuff, we explained it in our previous episode. So if you want to know that, please go back and watch the previous episodes, or listen it back, I should say, because we explained it perfectly. I think we even called it like the LEC for dummies. So it's beautiful, absolutely beautiful. But yeah, Astralis kind of hurts, but honestly, we deserved it, because I don't know what the hell we're doing in draft. We're drafting Xayah on 2. We're forcing Yuumi first pick while the opposing team takes away Zeri. Then we are forced into 4 or 5 pick ADC. We have once again a very weird bot lane draft. We don't know where to play from. I don't know, man. It feels like Fnatic is lost in every way of the table. And one thing I actually found on Twitter, I don't know if you've watched it as well. Do you follow Vega V2 by chance on Twitter? You probably do, right?
Yeah, I do, definitely.
Did you see that one video where he's reviewing the Fnatic videos behind the scenes?
No, I haven't. What's going on there? Oh, shit.
There are a lot of Fnatic behind the scenes videos, right, that Pete always makes. Like, hey, this is going on right now. The team is prepping. Every loss, their manager is giving them like a motivational speech. And after like 5, 6, 7 losses, like the video mostly contains a motivational speech after they lost. And Vega V2 was like, just let them go home, man. Like, they don't want to hear another motivational speech. I don't know what your thoughts are about that. But
let me get this clear. They do the motivational speech like on location, like where they played the game, like in the LEC studio,
I mean, yeah,
or when they get back
outside.
Home, or
they're standing outside.
Oh my
like,
god!
Very sad. After they lost the game, they're all standing there, and then you hear, I think it's Dardo, but not entirely sure, and he's saying things like, "I think you all are very good players. We just need to find something that clicks. We need to band-aid it, and I believe in you." And that keeps on going for every fucking episode.
Yeah, but like, of course, we can't ever compare ourselves with Fnatic players, right? But we're playing in what's probably the best league in the Netherlands right now, like the Dutch College League, and you know that when you lose a game, the last thing you want to hear is like a fucking motivational speech about how everything is gonna be alright. Like at that point, you're just mad. Like you're like, I don't want to talk to anyone. Like whether it's your fault, whether it's your team's fault, doesn't matter. You don't want to like talk about it for a while. At least you want to go home, like, just like you said. Like, what the fuck are they doing?
It's most of the time it's just, hey, good game, guys. Well played.
It happens. It is what it is. Exactly.
And then we all leave the call and we're all crying and we're very angry with ourselves. That's mostly what happens.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, that's actually so fucked up to hear. I'm gonna check it out though. Figer V2. Okay, that's gonna be a good one. But yeah, that's Fnatic. Place number 9. We'll see them again in Summer Split. Probably not with the same roster, if I would have to take my guess. Don't know who's gonna leave, but I feel like they will keep Reckless just because it's such a big brand, and I feel like you're gonna shoot yourself in the foot even more if you sign him again after 2 years and then drop him after one split,
I agree. I think there needs to be a change, but I actually think the change needs to be in management instead of the roster. You can still change something in the roster because Razork has been hinting it, to put it mildly, for a lot of weeks. But the problem is management is fucking up for the past 3-4 years. Nothing is working again. They're not getting their titles. And you can't blame it on the roster every time. Something is going wrong in the hierarchy there. And I think they need to take a good critical look at themselves and see what they can change there. But that's Fnatic, like you said. Let's talk about, before we go into the team that actually made it, there's a team that did worse than Fnatic. And I'm very surprised that I can even say this. Excel finished 1-8, their worst split in history, with Odoamne, Vithio, Targamas, which all came over. It was like a mini super team. And of course,
can you call it a mini super team though?
I mean, honestly, everybody was saying it, right? I don't agree with it, but a lot of people were saying before the split started, Excel will be like top 4, good team, like a mini super team. Not all the star players, but they're all like a 7 or an 8. Like Odoamne just won the split. Xerxes was doing very well last year, even though Xerxes is me. Theo was the MVP of the mid lane, But they still end up last. I don't know what's going wrong there either.
I feel like this is just another one of those examples that shows that names on a roster don't mean anything. Like, of course, having good names on a roster is a good start, but as you saw in the XL games as well, is they just can't play together. Like, it just doesn't work. Every game was just a disaster. And imagine being Odoamne, right? Like, you're chasing that LEC title for so long, getting so close every fucking split, and then you finally win it with an amazing rogue roster who had, like, just a really fun team dynamic as well. You go to XL and you just end up dead last. That's like the highest fall I've ever seen of a player in like recent years.
Honestly, yeah, I'm thinking what could even come close. I don't think there is anything. The only thing that comes to mind is T1, that 1 year when they won everything and then they ended like 7th or 8th in the LCK, and they didn't go to Worlds. That's the thing that comes close, which is a very big comparison to make with Odoamne and T1. But I guess it's the same premise.
Was that 2014? I think that was like really, really early in the T1 like dynasty, right? I think it was after they won like Worlds the first time. Then they just didn't even make it next year.
I think it wasn't even named T1, and it was still SKT.
Yeah, of course, it definitely was SKT. But
yeah.
2014, yeah. And then, they were like, holy shit, we're angry now. Let's just win Worlds 3 times back to back to back. Wonder if they'll do it again. Maybe. If you see the names on that roster, it's pretty fucking insane what they're pulling every time. But yeah, XL, not gonna lie, I'm not gonna like put it on a single player of like, oh, you were playing really bad, that's why you got lost, because just the entire team, like I said, didn't really seem to work. VTO had some good moments, Odoamne had some good moments, but there was never this angle of like, holy shit, XL can really turbo hard win this game, except for maybe like a few occasions,
On paper, the roster should work. That's why I don't like it. Not even because of names, but even because playstyles, right? Odoamne, weak side king. You have Patrick and Targamas, who can play very aggressive in the bot lane. Targamas is a champion Ocean. Patrick plays things like Draven, can go completely nuts. Vithio, best mid laner last year.
Yeah, Xerxes, MVP even, yeah.
Xerxes, like a bit of a supportive jungler, So I personally don't think Xerxes is that good at the game. So I don't know. Of course, he's way better than a lot of players in Europe.
Yeah, but relatively, of course. Relatively.
We always need to say that, otherwise we get angry people, So, still, I don't know. I don't know why it's not working, but they need to change something as well.
Yeah, I wonder what they will
change something. They already did. Yeah, they fired Youngbuck and Nelson.
Oh, okay, but do you think that's where like all of the problems were, or do you feel like they'll also just still swap out players after like split ends?
I mean, the season has ended like 2 days ago, right? And they immediately fired their entire coaching staff, so there must be something going wrong there.
Yeah, maybe it's like backstage, of course, like behind closed doors. about what is going on.
Yeah, you don't fire your entire coaching staff 2 days after the split ended.
True. Yeah, I wonder what they'll be cooking for Summer Split. I think we'll definitely see some changes in this roster. Anyways, let's go over to the teams that did make it, because, of course, besides the obvious surprise of Astralis actually like ending above places 9 and 10, I'm quite surprised if you look at the bracket as well now. I'm just gonna read it out for people that, you know, are on their phone or on the way. I got you. We got Team Vitality all alone at the top together with Mad Lions, both on a 7-2 record. Then we've got SK Gaming, G2 Esports, Team BDS, Team Heretics, Koi, and rounding out Astralis on that last place. And if you look at this table, I'm quite surprised how high up Team BDS is and how low like Heretics and Koi relatively are, you know?
True. It's like, you're probably wondering how I ended up in this situation.
Yeah,
kind of.
like BDS is sitting in between G2 and Heretics. Like, what's going on there? Like,
I mean, honestly, I have to give the man credit where it's due. It was an Adam diff.
yeah,
Like, legit, Adam and
Adam was
Crowny.
like, yeah, holy shit.
Honestly, like, I think Alex said it as well. Crowny was legit the best AD carry in the league, the regular split. By far. I 100% agree with him. Adam was doing some crazy shit in the top lane as well. I think it is a very fun team to watch right now, which I never expected because I wasn't really that big of a fan of BDS.
Mm-hmm.
But they made it into the bracket stage. Unfortunately, they do need to play G2, so that's going to be a rough one. But they have possibilities of making out because their group is Astralis, Mad Lions, and G2. So they need to beat either Mad or G2 to make it.
Yeah, you should read the other group as well for the viewers at home, because you just got like Astralis, Mad Lions, G2, and BDS. You're like, okay, that's like a decent group. I guess G2 is gonna top that, and then just take a look at the other group, ThomSonic. Like, who's in there?
Team Heretics playing against Team Vitality, and then we have Koi playing against the GOAT Marcoon SK Gaming.
But it's like banger after banger in that group. Like,
True.
I cannot give you an honest to god like decent prediction as to who gets out of there. I feel like all four teams have a very decent chance of making it out.
I don't know. I think Vitality will make it, but I'm not sure if they're gonna end up first or second. I feel like Koi is gonna make like a revolutionary change and all of a sudden play the game well. But SK though, SK is going to be like the other way around. They're gonna be grieving, or they're gonna be just as good as they were.
Oh, yeah, and I mean, the fun
And
part
that's
is
scary
it's
too.
like what happened in the start of the split, right? Or like the first week, we saw SK winning from all these big name teams, right? They get Fnatic, they get G2, they get Heretics, they get, or not, they did get Heretics actually. They do get Vitality. All of the big name teams, and then they lose out to Astralis and BDS. So I'm really not sure how to properly read SK, because I feel like it might be one of those teams that's really good in best of ones because they get away with a lot of things that might get punished when you start playing like series, you know?
Cool. They should have actually won the game against Astralis as well. That's the worst part because they were like really far ahead.
Oh,
And
was
they
it
griefed-
that one? Was it that one?
Yeah.
Where they were like, yeah, where they literally threw away the game.
Yeah, and otherwise they would have ended up first actually because they beat Vitality and Mad Lions. So then we would have a way different world.
Yeah, imagine. SK first place. Anyways, good for my boy Marcoon, though. I'm happy for the man. Like, he's doing great. And we talked about it, I think, last week, or maybe in our first episode as well, where Marcoon really needed to take on that leadership role. And I feel like he's doing it amazingly. If you look at the team dynamic, and there were also, just like how Fnatic has those like backstage videos, SK has a few of those as well, but they're like really short 15-minute ones. These guys always look like they're just having so much fun with each other. And I really like watching that.
I mean, I think that was the biggest point of criticism those quote-unquote smaller orgs the past years had, like BDS, Astralis, SK. They don't perform on the Rift, but they also don't perform off the Rift, right? There's no content. There's not a lot of people that are watching those things. BDS is doing crazy pull-ups every time they go to stage. I don't know if you've watched the Mad Lions opening one, the one with the ambulance. Ah, bro, that's awesome. Those things are cool.
Yeah, it adds like so much. Like, it doesn't even have to do anything with the fucking game, but it just adds, it makes it so much more fun to watch, you know?
100%, and that what makes people like enjoy the team and the players way more. And SK is the same thing. Certus, that one clip where you're saying like, you know, I really like to play against G2. Wait, why do you like to play against G2? Because we make mistakes. It's not SK are bad. No, it's G2 is the GOAT, you know?
Yeah, exactly.
Those videos are just amazing.
Can I have your thoughts about G2? Because, of course, they started off really well, right? 3-0 week, and then suddenly you lose against Mad Lions and SK, which, of course, in hindsight might not be that bad because SK is just performing really well. But there were games where I was like, holy shit, this G2 lineup might be better than the one G2 lineup, 2019 Worlds. But then there are also games where I'm like, yeah, it is still like G2. There's still like happy gaming sometimes.
I mean, you want my honest opinion on this?
Yeah, of course.
I think G2 is still the best team in the league by far.
Better than Vitality?
Yeah, way better actually.
Oh.
I think the reason why they're third is because they were already secured after like 2 weeks and everything was fine. They were playing like insane and they've been trying a lot of things now.
Yeah. They're
fair. Just like, okay, let's try it on stage. If it works, it works. If it doesn't work, it doesn't work. And we already have more knowledge going into the group stage. That's what I honestly think the coaching staff is thinking as well.
Yeah, and honestly, when you look at G2, mad props to Yike. I really felt like he was gonna fall a bit behind the rest of the curve when it comes to junglers in our league. Of course, coming from the LFL, but he's doing really good. And the thing that I really like about Yike is, especially in early games, he's like the only one in G2 that's like doing stuff. Like laners are just doing their thing, they're laning, but everything that G2 does before 10 minutes, before 15 minutes happens together with Yike. And it's really fun to watch if you start like noticing it, because everywhere where he goes, chaos follows, and it's really fun to see.
It's definitely a very fun team, but same goes, like you mentioned very briefly, for Vitality as well, right? They're still a very good team. I just think that the communication sometimes might be a bit of a hard thing to fix, because it's still, I think, a Korean top, Chinese jungler, and then the European bottom side of the map, plus Perks, of course. So the communication sometimes goes a bit weird. I don't know if you've listened to a couple of their voice comms videos as well. It's basically Bo screaming 20 times, Baron, 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 but very loud. And Perks is like, yo, shut the fuck up, man.
Yeah. That dynamic is really, really funny as well. Like they're sitting in this like pre-game lobby because you're waiting for like the games to start, and Perks is just playing Yuumi in a practice game. And then Bo is like, why are you practicing cat? And it's so funny. It's so hilarious.
But honestly, I get Bo. I mean, he's
True.
right. Why are you pranking Yuumi?
Why do you touch the cat, man? We promised we didn't do that. Also, Vitality, unofficially, officially, are like the baddest guys in the league. They posted a tweet where they were like responding to their opponents of that day, and they were like, hey, here's a contract. So you got like this picture of a contract that they would not lock in Yuumi, handshake on it. The Vitality signature was there and everything, and then the opponent, I think it was the SK, replied like, okay, we're not gonna pick Yuumi. First pick of Vitality in that draft, Yuumi. So they're like the most evil people in the league right now.
It's honestly just disrespectful.
Yes, you don't do that, man. Don't do it like that.
It's a gentleman's agreement. How can you come back to that?
Oh
man.
Any other surprises that you had during these like 3 weeks of winter extravaganza?
Honestly, I think the main surprise we already talked about, which is SK and BDS, of course, doing well. I don't really have a surprise, but the other thing I wanted to say is that Heretics should have had more wins. They're 4-5. They should have been 6-3 as well. I think they're very underestimated, and they will actually give Vitality a run for their money. So, yeah. Honestly, you know what? Let's do something fun, Rose, before we translate it over to Elite Series.
Yeah, sure.
Okay, you have the brackets in front of you, right?
The new ones, you mean?
Yes.
I don't, but
Which 4 teams are going to make it? Okay, we're going to start with Group 1, Heretics, Vitality, Koi, and SK. The predictions of Rose. Which 2 teams are going to make it out?
Heretics, Vitality, Koi, and SK means going to be Heretics and Vitality, I think, if I would have to take a guess. But like I said before, it's going to be really difficult to properly figure that out.
I'm going to say Vitality and SK. And then we have the second
Heretics?
bracket. No. I think the Gold Marcoon is stopping Heretics there. It's going to be fine.
All right.
And then we have the second bracket, Astralis, Mad Lions, BDS, G2. And this one might sound easier, but perhaps it is not.
Well, you have to think about it for a second, right? How did Astralis get here? By luck? Maybe, not really. But it's not like they played really well, so I don't think they'll make it out. And then G2 for me is like the other end of the spectrum, where I'm like, yeah, if they don't make it out, I'm gonna be flabbergasted. I'm like willing to put money on that. And then you get left over with Mad Lions and BDS. And if you look at the Mad Lions, this split, they ended pretty strong, but BDS is a very big surprise that could actually go pretty much head to head. But I'm gonna go with my gut. I feel like it's gotta be Mad Lions. Like, there's more experience on that roster. I feel like I'm just gonna go for the standard answers, man. I'm so boring, I know.
I wanted to be G2 Mad, because that would be a very fun like 4-way playoffs.
Do
if
you
we
believe in the Astralis dream?
No, definitely not.
Are they gonna pop out that group? Not a single loss.
Okay, legit. You remember that final in the Netherlands where we had like G2 against Origin, and it was the quickest final ever? Yeah, this series is going to beat that.
I think so too. Yeah,
we're gonna get like 3 games of 20 minutes because Mad Lions is crazy. Like, I don't know how they did it, but they've managed to turn Hylissang into a Inting engaged support into a Lulu one trick that doesn't die anymore.
What happened? Yes,
in 3 weeks. Like, I don't know how they do it, but
I need my Hilly back, man. I need my Hilly back.
I mean, he's not griefing anymore.
Yeah, true. I mean, it seems to be working. I think it's maybe just the like support role of Fnatic that just grieves, because look at Rux. Like he was like a little Hylissang in the spring split or winter split.
Yeah. I really wanted them to succeed, but he and Razork have been gaming for sure.
Yeah, they definitely have been gaming. So, what are you locking in?
Mad Lions in G2. I know it's boring.
G2. Well,
but BDS, Mad Lions is going to be 3-2 for Mad.
Damn. All right. That is going to be LEC. I think the new rounds, as I see it here correctly, will start on the 11th of February. So that's this weekend already. Let's go. We start off with Vitality and Team Heretics. That's going to be a banger. After that, SK and Koi. And then the next day you get the other group. So if you want to watch it, definitely be there because it's been exciting. Before we swap it to Elite Series, I wanted to ask you one more thing.
Sure.
We've had like 3 whole weeks of LEC broadcasts right now, and I want your opinion about like the broadcast in general.
Actually very interesting. I haven't thought about it.
It's gonna like sit up straight, prepare the shots, the
honestly,
Magnum is like loaded.
I kind of like the new direction they're going for. Mm-hmm. I really like Trouble as an interviewer. I didn't expect that, to be honest, because in the past she had like a lot of criticism on her accent and stuff, but I actually really like it. I think she brings out more from players than I've seen in the past. I honestly think she's doing a better job without firing shots than Lore. So I really think that's the biggest asset to the new way of doing the broadcasts.
Yeah, I like her as well. I don't think she's better than Lore. And the biggest thing that I didn't like about Trouble coming to the LEC broadcast, besides the fact that she did great, is that Lore was hosting the show. And
yeah,
I was not a big fan of that. With all due respect, like I think Lore is a really good interviewer, and I really did not like her when she just got to LEC. As in, I did not like the way she interviewed, and sometimes the questions were just really weird. I do feel like she's improved a lot on that part, and I definitely like her interviews better right now. But you can just notice the difference of Shox hosting a show compared to Lar, or even like someone like Draco. Right. But even someone like Dracos, I feel like it's just a better host than Lore, because it all just went a little bit awkward, and I know it's the first time for everything, so maybe she turns into a really, really strong host, and I definitely hope for her that she does, but that was like the only thing that was a bit meh for me.
I agree. We can't be too harsh, right? Like, we've all been there as well.
I mean, I'm garbage, so like hosting a show, no way. That was like the biggest thing I was looking up to always.
Well, it wasn't that bad. The spring split was not great, but summer split was very good.
You don't talk about the spring split. You know, do you know how like much more I remember from the summer split compared to the spring one? Of course, it's been more recent, but I really feel like the summer split was like 4 times as long compared to the spring one. The spring one was like over like that, and I felt like the summer one like just took so much more time.
I mean, I know the actual reason for that. For me, spring felt way longer because I did like 80% of the castle spring.
Yeah, fair enough.
And then you did like way more in summer, right? So
yeah. Oh well, I think that's a good point to like start switching it up towards.
Honestly, in the summer you was casting and I was just sitting in the sun. You know, I had like cocktail and everything.
Shut up, man. You're capping right now. Anyways,
no cap.
Elite Series. As of right now, it is Wednesday, the 8th of February when we're recording this, so we're like halfway in the 3rd week right now. 5 games have been played so far. And if we take a quick peek at the standings, we see that KRC Gank once again is, you know, kind of establishing their place in this competition.
As they should, because they are clearly the best team. And I didn't expect that before we started the competition, because I was like, Agency is going to be great. Agency isn't. Right now, not that great.
Yeah, it's not going that well. It's definitely not going that well, especially after yesterday's loss, which was the Tuesday one, so like week 3, day 1 for people that are listening later than when we release this one. They lost a very tough game, one that they definitely had to win, which was pretty sad. I think Dipsy also tweeted about it. He was like, yeah, I made the draft really, really difficult, which was quite sad because there's so much potential in this roster. You've said it before as well, and you basically filled me in on who everyone is because I didn't know a lot of the names. And it's very tough losses like this that might even make you miss playoffs in the end, because be careful, the season is over before you know it.
I mean, we're almost halfway already.
Exactly. I feel like we just started, and it's like, wait, the second like half of this round robin is already gonna start? Like, what the hell?
I was talking to Adamman yesterday with the gang stream, of course, and I already said, like, hey, you play 2 more games, and then we have half of the split done and dusted already. Mm-hmm. So you can already look forward. And you know what he replied to me? He was like, you know what? I'm going to be very nitpicky about everything we do in every game because I need to prepare everyone for EMEA Masters. Of course, it is important to focus on the split. That's what I asked him as well. And he's like, yeah, it's very important to do that. And I think we'll be fine. I have a lot of confidence in my players. I just think they're better in every role and better macro-wise as well. So we will make it towards EMEA. So I'm going to be very nitpicky about everything we do because I want to make sure Gang gets a very good showing. And he actually thinks this is the year where the Benelux could actually go towards the actual groups because we had all the ERL changes and regions are not looking that great. So he actually sees a lot of possibilities in this year, and he's hoping to make the Benelux proud.
Yeah, we're
gonna. So that's a lot of things to unpack there for you.
I mean, yeah, I already kind of predicted that you would get a lot of like sauce from this like Gang's co-streaming thing, because for people that are unaware, Thomas right now, every like Elite Series playday is basically like co-streaming the Gank game only, and then he gets joined by, I don't know, Sisso or Ironman. I don't know who've joined you so far, but
Ironman.
I tune in sometimes, and it's really fun to, you know, see what Ironman has to say, because the man is pretty like eloquently spoken and he knows how to like talk a lot about the game, so I always really like listening to him. But this is a perfect example of how Gank, you know, thinks as a team. Like, they, without being very egocentric and without being very selfish, they know that they're better than like 60% of the league, so they don't have to focus super hard on every single best of 1 that you get right now, because let's be real, they know that they're gonna make playoffs, especially, you know, after being on a 4-win streak after that day 1 disaster where Roba wasn't present. It just shows that Gank is very far ahead of the curve right now, and it's probably gonna get even worse when you get to best of 3s or best of 5s, because that's when a strong team like this is really gonna step forward.
The thing that I find very interesting, and which Alan said as well, we were talking about their game against MCon, which of course were playing at the time. And he responded to me with something like, you know, we did a lot of research on our opponent for today. MCon, they like to play a lot together with 4 or 5 people. Their macro game is actually above average, better than we expected from the start. So we just need to make sure that we match that. And if we just stall the game out, we can make better decisions. But that's something to be very cautious about. Every time they have a match day, they just watch every game of their opponent back. They skip through it fast, of course, but they watch every game back. Like, okay, these are like the common factors in those games. That's probably what they're going to do again. We're going to punish that.
Yeah, for a second, I was tweaking really hard. I was like, wait, they're watching every single Elite Series game that has been played, even though it's not them or their opponents. But yeah, no, it's late. It's late. You know, like, I think this podcast has got a really nice like line going through it. The first episode we aired, it was all bright. It was during the day. And the second one, it was like around 5 p.m. So you could see it getting dark in the room, and now it's just pitch black. Like, next episode is going to be like midnight recording. Anyways, please continue.
I mean, that was basically the point.
Yeah, okay. But I mean, it goes to show, right, what they're willing to give up. And I feel like there are not a lot of teams, especially in our competition, that are doing as much as they are doing. And it just shows they're always well prepared, they have a solid plan, and they execute the plan fairly easily, especially the game against MCon as well. Yesterday, you could just see that Gank knows what they're doing, and MCon like tries, you know, to make the game a little bit more chaotic, but it's not really working.
And I think that's a trend that's going to continue throughout the rest of this split up until either 7 a.m. or the agency, if everything starts to click, does something against it. Otherwise, it's going to be smooth sailing, easy first place, easy first seat for Gank, and I don't think anyone can stop them.
Yeah, so tomorrow we're going to close out week 3, and then we're going to be going into week 4 already. If we look right now, of course, Heat is at the bottom. 1-4 did get their first win yesterday against Benelux United, and I want to say, honestly, of course, I really like seeing Heat win, but Benelux United is like legit the second coming of Starlon. Like, these people are so coin flip. Like, don't get me wrong, it's super fun, but why are we locking in Katarina, guys? Water, can we explain this? Like, yes, he got 2 kills, but why are we locking in Katarina? Like,
He got
yes,
2 kills. Good justification.
Heat is 0-4. I understand. But why are we locking in Katarina, guys? What is going on?
I mean, the meme "Let him cook" is overused, but
Yeah, they made sure of that in the pre-show of yesterday. It was really fun though, but I don't want any cooking references anymore. I don't want to see him. I don't want to see him.
It was enjoyable. I liked it. I mean, the Benelux wouldn't be Benelux with a good portion of cringe, right?
Yeah, and I think
we've contributed to that as well.
I think Woong and Dino are also really good at delivering some cringe content. So
I really thought you were gonna say I think Woong and Dino are both really cringe as well.
No, it's not that. It's just the content they produce. It's not them. Come on, no.
It's Fanpei.
It's Fanpei. He's always behind something. No, respect the boys. They're doing great so far. I really enjoy watching it. And, the Flemish has really gotten to me. Like, before we both walked into meta, I was always listening to, like, Dutch League, Belgian League, and was like, my God. Like, Dutch League of Legends casting is cringe, but Flemish? I can't have this, man. All these words that I don't understand, but after you've been walking around with them for a while, you start, like, even using their words, and it's like, oh, my... I think the podcast just heard that I got a league invite. You love to see it.
I got the same thing.
Yeah.
About Boom, he knows.
He's fucking listening. He's fucking listening. Anyways, I started to get like a little soft spot for it. They're doing great. Besides that, Elite Series, any surprises so far?
Surprise right now, of course, Agency doing not so hot. Well, actually, ZenIT getting 2 wins is very surprising because I predicted them to get a maximum of 2 in the entire split. So... They already met my expectations.
Do you think they'll get more after what you've seen so far?
Yes, because Heat is a free win.
So, I mean, apparently not. Benelux United thought they picked Katarina into it. It's not a free one.
Benelux United was memeing, man. That like it's fine. It's fine.
They were doing a little tomfoolery.
But actually, Heat made some roster changes, didn't they?
Yeah.
I didn't watch the game yesterday.
There's some shit going on there, and I don't know about it, and I'm really sad. So if anyone does, please DM me. But stuff is going on. I think like Sumi is not playing anymore. They had 2 new players, I believe.
I mean, the only thing I saw on Twitter was like the Sumi pentakill, and I think Dipsy replied to it with something like "the last dance of Sumi."
Yeah,
Sumi sent like a skull emoticon.
Last dance. Like, oh my god.
And then he was benched, I guess. So
yeah, emotional.
Shit happens. It sucks for Sumi though, because after that performance, pentakill, been chilling, but I guess not. Not.
On the Aatrox mid lane as well. Love that pick. Was a really fun game to watch. I want to talk a little bit about MCON. Because from the start of the split, we've both said like, oh yeah, this MCON has got like a lot of rookies on the roster, besides Sliver, of course. We're not sure how they're gonna like perform. And we've said from the start as well, like we're not gonna be biased towards East Goblin, even though he is in our association. But damn, MCON have been like throwing shit up, haven't they? Like, of course, they lost against 7am on the first day, but after that, you got the, like, Lux games, you got the Rel games, you got Mayuk, who is apparently a fucking smurf, not only on Fiora, but also on Cassante, and then we come to week 3, day 1, and we get an Ivern pick out of nowhere, and everything just seems to, like, fall out of place again.
I mean, they honestly didn't even play that bad, that game, but this game, and also the game before that, I don't know what they're doing, but their draft is kind of grief 2 times in a row. Yesterday, it was a problem. They didn't draft any damage. Of course, they have a lot of survivability, but if you don't have any damage yourself, what are you going to do that entire game?
It was another Jhin game, right?
Yeah, it was a Jhin game, but the Jhin wasn't even a problem. They had like Ivern, Silas, and Jhin, which is not going to do an awful lot for you.
Who was
Cassante as well?
It was Cassante first pick. Yeah, it was Cassante first pick. Yeah.
So you just don't have damage, and if you're playing against a Ashe Heimerdinger bot, which sucks for Jhin, you have a Kassadin who just doesn't take enough damage to get bursted down and can just hard win fights later on. You're not going to win that game. So I think that's a draft issue. And the game before that, when they played against NIT, they won that game, but I think that was the most illegal Jhin pick I've ever seen in my entire life.
Yeah, I loved how you were like actively like going against that Jhin pick in Twitch chat. You were like you were not okay with it. But with all due respect, when Sliver won the game, you were like, oh great, I have to say it, I was wrong. Even though the Jhin pick was garbage.
I mean, I have to be honest, right? Even though the Jhin was like hot garbage there in that draft, and it should never be allowed to win that game, they won. So Sliver the GOAT, I guess.
Yeah.
But you see Cassante Trundle and you pick Jhin. Like, as an ADC, you yourself would never pick Jhin there, right?
But that's no, of course not. But that's the problem, right? It's always been the case with Sliver is just he doesn't play that many traditional AD carries. I know that he can pick up the Varus. I know that he can pick up the Xayah, but I think the Varus was probably then not the angle there, and he just really wants his Jhin comfort. And to be honest, even though yesterday's game was also not really a Jhin game, he was doing pretty well on it. And you can see that he's decent on the, or well, I guess good on the champion because he does so much damage even though his team is not winning. So there must be more behind that Jhin pick than meets the eye, but I do agree that like so many of those Jhin picks were like, come on, man, there's like so many better carries to get here.
If I can quote Voom, Sliver was the first Jhin OTP when the champion got released. So
okay, I didn't even know that actually. Damn.
Apparently, Sliver is just so comfortable on that Jhin pick that he doesn't care and just picks it, whatever. You know what? If it works, it works. But if it doesn't work, we are allowed to say something about it.
But don't you think, and this is nothing personal towards Sliver because he's amazing.
Okay.
But if you play at this level, even though Elite Series might not be that high, but if you play at this level, shouldn't it kind of be expected of you that you know, play some more champions? Because we know that his champion pool is low when it comes to traditional AD carries, and of course the whole schlick of, hey, I'm picking AP bot laners works. But as we see in MCon drafts as well, it's not something that they can do every game. So should Sliver invest more time into getting more confident on like other marksmen? And I could be completely wrong. Like maybe he just is and they're just not doing it. So if that is, then shoot me. I am completely wrong. But it's just kind of weird to me that you're playing competitively in, you know, the best competition that your like region has to offer.
Yeah.
And you hover towards Jhin picks when there's like 3 tanks in the opponent team.
I mean, that, and also the case we're in a bot-centric focused meta, right? Where we have a lot of Lucian Nami, a lot of poke on the bot lane as well, perhaps the Varus, Dravens popping in left and right. That doesn't scream Sliver to me. And I think the identity of MCon is also Mayuk is our strong side laner. We play towards that. Yeah, but it chance covers up the holes that we need to cover up during the game. So I get that they're trying to weak side bot. And even with the Lux, well, they're problem solving pretty nicely. I also don't think it's that big of a problem, but every draft and every plan has a certain use and point where you can actually use it. And I feel like they're forcing themselves a bit too hard into certain scenarios, while other scenarios are easier to play and up for grabs. So they're a bit too tunnel visioned, in my opinion. Yeah, I think that's the best way to phrase it.
Yeah, I can see that. And once again, to like repeat, this was nothing personal. Because Sliver is doing amazing. You're doing great, and I have no doubts that he's an amazing player. So maybe just get like a Vayne game in once, please, man, or like an Aphelios. I want to see like Sliver Aphelios.
Vayne is like the worst AD carry.
I just want to see it, man. Like,
but you know that Vayne is like actually the dog shit of AD carry right now.
You know, I've not seen a Vayne in so fucking long. Besides myself playing it, like, can we buff Vayne, please? That would be really fun, actually.
I mean, now that tank supports are getting back into the meta, perhaps.
I mean, but Vayne doesn't like tank supports. As in,
Vayne doesn't like enchanters either.
I know, but I mean, most of as in like engage supports getting more into the meta kind of sucks for Vayne because Vayne wants to play with a Lulu. You know, playing against an engage support is fine, but if you're like solo queue, I don't know, terrorizer support is then also gonna pick Alistars. It's like, yeah, now I definitely can't play Vayne.
That is true. That is true.
Anyways,
like take.
TLDR, please buff Vayne. Make the W her passive. Give her another W. Nothing will go wrong, surely. Anyways, that was my little hiatus on Vayne. I just want to play Vayne, man. Come on, I'm gonna play Vayne. Vayne's a good champion. Yeah, Elite Series. This is week number 3. I do quickly still want to like stop by Northern Lions Esports because I know that you have like a soft spot for them, and we've not really talked a lot about them in the podcast so far, but them all being like ex-ETT so far, I kind of want like your vision on how they're playing right now, because they're 2-3, and they started off pretty good. I mean, they started off, no, they did not start at 2-0 actually, but they started off pretty solid, but that was against teams like Heat Gaming. Do you feel like Northern Lions still has what it takes to like run along with the top of the league, or maybe not just yet?
They will compete for the 4th spot in the competition. I feel like they're running a bit short to the likes of Genk and I guess at this moment Benelux and MCon, and I'm pretty sure that's because they don't practice that much still.
Do they even practice? Do they even practice at all? Because we know how ETT was like.
I know how ETT works, but I doubt it, man. I doubt that they actually practice. Maybe they see DCL's practice, which wouldn't be a good idea. So
Damn, we're
that's the
practicing
thing.
for Elite Series against ThomSonic and RoseBND. Let's
Yeah,
go.
that's rough, buddy.
Yeah,
But
it really
the
is.
game against Benelux United, Benelux United had a perfect game. They
Yeah,
went 13-0, if I'm not mistaken. But that wasn't all that bad because Jaguar did a little bit of grieving with the top dive, and after that the game was over. I think they could have actually had that a bit more close against 7EM. It wasn't a stomp either. It was okay. It was fine from what I've heard, actually. So I think they still have a shot, but they need to like improve their team play a bit more. And they're really streamlined. I don't get why you pick Vayne, by the way, right now against Benelux United. It's also a bit of a question mark for me, but
A bit
there's
of
still
for fun
hope.
gaming. A bit for fun gaming.
I don't know.
I do agree, like, even though I love Vader a lot, that champion issue is so shit in pro play. It's like, hey, can you get Pryo for me? Yeah, sure. Just, like, call me back in 2 business days, then I'll be done with pushing the wave. Like, that
True.
champion has no wave clear at all.
Rose, when can you win the game? Where are you strong? I need 5 items. Okay.
I'll see you in 45 minutes.
Goodbye. And then the game is ended twice.
Yeah, holy fuck. Yeah, maybe no more Vayne games for mechanics. Maybe they should stick to the Lucianami or something like that. But that was Elite Series so far, unless you have anything else to talk about.
I'm completely done. I'm looking forward to tomorrow.
Yeah, and I'm looking forward towards the next segment, or well, the next part of the cast, because something happened overseas. ThomSonic, do you mind filling us in? And what has been going on?
Oh, we had a little bit of drama, but this time in the LCS over in North America, there was a certain segment about 100 Thieves against TSM. They were playing a game in a regular season, and of course, Doublelift is now playing for 100 Thieves together with Bjergsen, and he has been previously playing for TSM. There were a lot of things that happened in TSM, which were accusations, and I think that's pretty certain to be true, of verbal abuse, verbal harassment, at least towards players and staff. What they did in a segment of the broadcast, they were talking about it, but they did it in a little bit of a, how do we say this politically correct? You
don't have to be politically correct.
No,
You can say whatever the fuck you want.
True. They did it in a fun way, I guess, where they were like, "Oh, this happened, and oh, that happened." You know, damn, both parties are equal here. Blah 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 blah.
I'm not gonna get into that stuff now. I can hear her say it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Something like that. And it was like a bit downplayed on what actually happened. So that wasn't the best of things to happen. And there was a lot of backlash for it. But all the backlash was pointed towards LeTigress, who was actually doing the segment. And even Doublelift replied, like, hey, you should apologize to everyone that's ever been like verbally harassed, etc. And everybody was dogpiling on LeTigress.
Yeah.
I don't think that's a good thing, because you and I both know we've worked in casting, of course, on a very small scale if you compare LCS to Benelux.
For sure.
But whenever we have a thing for content, if we have an idea, we talk about it with the other casters first. If that gets allowed pushed through, it goes to like the head of production. If that gets allowed pushed through, we actually do it into the show. There's an entire team behind it, multiple sections. It is not a LeTigress thing that she completely made up herself and was like, okay, I'm gonna do this tomorrow, be sure to make it and have it ready. That's not how that works. But she gets all the hate, while LCS should be the one responsible, in my opinion.
Yeah, I completely agree. And I'm immediately gonna like pull the trigger here, and I'm gonna go pretty hard, but I'm sorry, but what Doublelift is doing is just not okay, because he goddamn knows like the audience that he has behind him and like the impact that he has on people, because he's super famous in NA. Of course, he has been for a lot of time, and you should know, or you should be responsible enough to not say that kind of shit at that point, because you know what that will do with someone like LeTigress, who already is doing, in my opinion, a pretty good job in LCS with whatever she's doing. And then he randomly goes on stream super out of pocket, and he's like, yeah, I don't like what she's doing at all. She's not a good talent at all. And then what you said as well, where he says to her that she should apologize to everyone that has ever been affected to whatever Reggie's been doing. That makes no sense. Like, what do you want us to do? Do you want us to go door by door with like flowers? Like, I'm sorry this happened to you. That is not her responsibility. That is your fucking shit, and you should deal with it yourself. I do understand the frustration that comes from that content piece, because let's be real, it was not smart from LCS to do it. And you know, what's been said has been said, but there's no way he should ever personally attack her like that, because he knows the consequences with his fanbase.
And to make matters even worse, after a day or two, LeTigress actually posted a apology tweet about the entire thing, and that was handled with a lot of twisting comments as well. A couple were positive, a couple were negative. And after that, a couple of days, then the LCS made an apology tweet about, hey, we are all responsible. It is not her fault. It is our fault. But that was like several days after it happened. An organization as big as the LCS should notice what is going on and take action first and not let her take all the blame. Because what they basically did was like, okay, the LeTigress takes the bullet and they're clear. They're not responding to anything. They should be there for their employees that, in my eyes, did nothing wrong. And I find that really questionable from the LCS. While they have been going in a great direction of everything else this year, I think this really is a stain on how they work with their content creators or with their casters.
For sure, yeah. And I didn't know about this whole like content piece. I just woke up randomly one day and I saw like the LeTigress tweet longer being shared. So I was like, oh, what's going on here, you know? And I read and it was like, oh damn, they made a content piece. It was like really bad apparently. So I was like, okay, I'm gonna check this out. Check out the content piece, have my thoughts about it that I just mentioned, and then I keep reading the tweet longer, and it's just so sad to see her write like, I'm horrified by the amount of like death threats she's receiving or whatever she said. And it's, you know, that's like so fucking sad to think about, because she only does it, you know, to just entertain people, and she does her best and she puts like a lot of her time into it, and then you get that, and I'm like, Jesus Christ, can we like be a little bit more civilized? Because it's not like they were super flaming them super hard. Of course the segment is weird, but like, come on guys, get a grip on yourselves. You can't just randomly send people death threats for something like that, you know?
And just in general, like, those things actually are becoming so common that people get threats like that, or just anything that comes close to it. It should never be okay. And no matter what happens, how bad someone has done something, even though it's really fucking bad, you should never go to that extent, because they will and should be punished by something. Yeah. And that's actually what I wanted to talk to you about.
Oh.
Because the LCS, of course, is making this statement a couple days late. And they have pretty much all power about those decisions that they make. Of course, they're owned by Riot Games. They're working together, probably actually the same. But who actually controls Riot Games? Who's like, hey, what you're doing there is bad? I actually don't know.
So wait, what do you mean exactly? Who controls Riot Games?
Let it be. Okay, I need to explain this very well.
Yeah.
You have a football team, for example. And the football team plays in a league. And the league is controlling, like, the football team's like, hey, this is going on. There's most of the time there's like an organization above that keeps everything in check, that the competition is handled well. Yeah. And above that that organization is another organization that does the entirety of Europe. And for Europe, there's another organization that does the entirety of the world, you know?
Yeah.
There's like the ladder. But does the ladder stop very soon in esports? Isn't it like one or two that are controlling the rest, and that's it?
I mean,
is there not like a sports thing that's not controlling Riot Games, but just saying like, hey, what you're doing there is not good?
Yeah,
I don't actually know.
There's not. I don't know how to say it in English. I'm sorry for English listeners, but in Dutch you have like the football bond, or like, you know,
yeah, like that's what I was referring to.
This association that, like, just like what you said, that like controls the other leagues. But I'm not really sure. I think it's probably a division over at Riot Games. Like, I'm sure that they'll have a division for it. I could not tell you whoever that is or whatever they're doing, but it should probably be a division. And if that's not there, then I'm getting kind of scared, because of course you can't really compare esports to like football and how everything like that is, you know, like, yeah, settled. But still, I do feel like there is like a division that goes over that, but I would not be able to tell you who that is.
Very important thing to note. I don't know if there actually is something like that, so this is just speculation, and I'm curious about it. If someone knows, enlighten us, please. Just DM us or post it somewhere on Twitter. I don't mind, because I really would like to know if that's the case, because like you said, the football thing is a good comparison. You have, like, in the Netherlands at least, Eredivisie, you have the KVB. Above that is the FIFA, etc., etc. And
it goes really far, but with esports you don't have that. Also because you have like different games, right? So are you gonna have the same like association that's looking over different games because it's labeled as esports? It gets quite difficult if you start thinking about it. Not gonna lie.
I think we I fucked us up into like some sort of rabbit hole, I apologize for that.
We got into the rabbit hole.
No,
It's getting late, man. It's getting late. Get me out. No. I mean, I feel like it's really good. It's a good subject because if there is really something like that, I would be kind of interested to see like how it works, and if there is something for League of Legends, do they then only overlook LCS? Do you have different divisions for every different competitive league, or do you have one big division that goes over all of those kind of things? I do want to say, and this kind of warps us back to the to the subject that we were talking about. You mentioned before that LCS brought out their statement, right? And they were like, okay, this happened. We completely missed the mark. This was wrong from us. But I feel like those kind of statements, even though they might be good and maybe a little bit corporate talky, but they always come so late, you know? They come after the damage has been done. You worded it perfectly. LeTigress put out her tweet longer, took all of the blame, was literally standing there like, come on guys, shoot me down, with LCS like hiding behind her. And then LCS brings out the apology, but all the damage has already been done. Don't you feel like they should be like on top of that kind of shit and just get it out as fast as possible?
100%. They should just have clear communication and transparency about a lot of things. And that's, I think, the biggest one, because you always need to protect your employees. At the end of the day, LeTigress might be working as a freelancer or has like a full contract, I don't know. But you should protect your employees if something like that happens, and you should be transparent and communicative against or like towards your audience as well. And it goes back, if we put it back to our own region, the Benelux as well. I think it's still very questionable that we didn't even get like an announcement of Le Couch not returning.
Yep.
A good example of it. Just be clear in your communication. I don't care what the reasoning behind it is. You don't have to tell us per se, because that's like business things. But just say, hey, this is not going to continue. Hey, we don't stand for this. Hey, this is what's going on. Just be clear in your communication, and your audience will love you that much more, because only the thing that you only get with this is criticism. And that's not what you want, because that gives you a very bad image.
I think you told me as well, where I believe it was Woong who posted a tweet where he was like, hey, Ellie Couch will not be returning. True. And it's the exact same example, right? Where the talent has to basically communicate towards like community what's going on, instead of the actual like competition doing it, which is so strange if you think about it, because it doesn't even take that much. If your talent is going to tweet about it, then I imagine that the competition itself is also wanting to like tweet about it, right? Otherwise, like, Woong is really messing up here, and he's gonna say things he's not allowed to say. But everyone knows Ellie Couch is not coming back, because we're 3 weeks in and it's gone. You know, it's not gonna happen anymore. So, just like you said, why do you not communicate it? That's something that, you know, Unlocked can learn a lot about, but they're definitely not alone when it comes to that. It's an esports thing, I guess, where communication can sometimes be so incredibly difficult, even when you have a lot of people, you know, working on the project at the same time. It might be more difficult than we think, but sometimes I do feel like a little bit more communication, a little bit more transparency can give us like so much more, especially for the community.
100%. I don't have anything to add to that. I think you worded it perfectly. We just need honesty, guys. Honesty and loyalty will get us to greater heights.
Yeah, one last thing before we move towards our last segment. I wanted to talk about this a little bit because it's also LCS related. It was a week ago, and I don't know exactly which play day it was, but of course you can get like tickets to go to the LCS studio. You can see the you can see like the players live on stage. Amazing. Yeah. So imagine you go to the LCS on a Saturday. I don't actually know which day it was. It could be Friday. You go to the LCS, you got your tickets, you're driving out to, I think it's San Francisco. I don't know where the studio is actually. But you're driving out, you're going into the studio, you're all ready for the games. And then the communication doesn't work for the players. You get an hour delay. You're like, what is going on? And all the players just leave because they're getting sent home by LCS because they can't fix the communication issue. So the players have to play from home while the crowd is in the studio watching an empty stage. My God, that must have been the worst feeling for those people ever. Imagine this is like your first and maybe only time going to the LCS because, I don't know, you might be like very stuck on money, or it's a very long way to travel to the studio for you. You finally get there and then the players get sent home. That's like so sad.
I pray to God that they got their money back, or like some kind of
compensation, right?
Compensation for that, because it's honestly just an embarrassment. I also don't get how the communication didn't work, because you should do tech checks. I think they did, or something must have massively gone wrong. But how they find out like an hour before games, that's really questionable to me as well. And I'm honestly really sad about it, because I feel like LCS has been improving so much this bit, and I didn't expect it when they released Dash. I honestly think they have been doing great. It's the best year so far in games quality, but also in the broadcast level. And things like this are so unfortunate to happen now when they're just putting on like this climbing way towards the top or being a better product. I don't know what your thoughts about it
I
are,
mean, they were definitely climbing back up, right? Because imagine the backlash that they had when they announced, their game days were gonna change. They're gonna play on Thursdays. The whole timing like drama that went on, where first they were gonna play like legit during the day. They actually kind of changed that to come to terms with the community a bit more. But they got so much shit over them, with Dash leaving as well, with Freak leaving as well, that they were definitely climbing back up and they were making some very good progress. But the thing that just worries me is like, okay, I can understand that there is a communications issue, but do you not have a backup for this? I can understand that something like LFL or Prime League doesn't, but the LCS, why are we not hopping into a Discord with the boys? You cannot tell me that does not work. Because if that doesn't work, then just use something else. Like, I don't know, go with League Voice for whatever I know. Like, it's literally in the game. Like, come on.
True. Yeah, I don't know what to tell you, man. Like,
it's
there's something.
Yeah, it's
of
really
course,
strange.
there's a lot more behind it, right?
For sure. Like, we don't know shit. Like, we don't know shit. I'm just rambling out here.
We are just two guys with a microphone. It's just like we're casting again.
Yeah, let's hope that they get it together, though, because I do really like the broadcast right now. I think Rafa is an amazing addition. Really like his casts. And, I mean, Captain Flowers is still Captain Flowers. Lovely to listen to. The segments are getting better. I still don't really enjoy watching LCS pre-shows as much as I do LEC pre-shows, but it's mostly personal bias and, just the teams being more interested to me when they are from Europe. So, LCS, let's hope you get it back together, because I really want to see you thrive.
Same. I don't have anything to add to that. I think that's a perfect positive way to end the segment, which we should. No, we don't have to do that more often, but it's nice that we do it sometimes.
that we do what? What do you mean exactly?
That we end it on a positive note.
Are you saying that we are flaming too much, Thomas?
I mean, we're not flaming too much. We're speaking facts, but
yeah, no printers, just facts. Damn.
Best theory ever.
Oh well, let's see. What's left is the final part of our podcast, as we're already nearing the 1 hour mark. If you're still listening, I appreciate you. If you're still watching, I appreciate you too. Anyways, the final one is not about anything League of Legends related. God bless, we're finally talking about something else. Last week it was school for some reason. Now we're talking about the wizarding world of J.K. Rowling and Hogwarts Legacy. ThomSonic, please introduce what the fuck's been going on around this single player game.
You started so good, man. Like, it was so hype, it was so good, and then we said the name that shall not be named. It's not Voldemort this time. Like, there has been a little bit of a problem that has been going on for the moment Hogwarts Legacy got announced, which is J.K. Rowling made some comments that were, to put it mildly, not so very positive and nice about transgender people. She has been making a bunch of transphobic remarks, and even actors from the show are speaking out against it. They're like, hey, we don't agree with that. That's a bit fucked up.
Yep.
So a lot of people that are standing behind the transgender community, of course, were like, boycott Hogwarts Legacy. That's fucked up. Don't do it. You only support her. She gets some money with it. Blah, 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 blah. That's a bad idea. Don't do it. That's all fine. I agree with that to a certain extent. If you feel like that, sure, you're like, okay, this doesn't really work with my morals and values. Completely fine. I respect your decision in that. However, a lot of people have also been trying to boycott streamers who play the game, harassing people on Twitter that actually bought it. And it's been spiraling out of control. There was even a website.
The website. I wanted to talk about it. The website.
There was a website that... actually, you explain it.
Yeah. It's been taken down right now. But there was legitimate a website that would track where the streamers were playing. And it was literally quoted like that. That wizard game on Twitch. So you could, block the people that were streaming Hogwarts Legacy. And where ThomSonic wanted to go with this is, just like you mentioned, there are people that are against what J.K. Rowling was saying, and I want to say as well that I am not agreeing with her at all. She's a fucking psychopath, but those people are forcing their opinions so hard on other people, and they're legit reinforcing other people to boycott these streamers and legit just personally attack them in DMs or on Twitter or whatever. And I feel like we should draw a line, because this just does not make sense in my head, you know?
It's the same thing I said on Twitter a couple of days ago, and I was actually referring to Hogwarts Legacy. It was about...
I knew it was. Yeah.
I respect anyone who has morals and values and is like, hey, I don't want to do this because this is not what I stand for. That's completely fine. I respect the hell out of it. But don't force your morals and values onto other people and arrest them for it, because they too have the right to have their own morals and values. And you can still don't like what J.K. Rowling is saying, but like to play the game. Like me, because I see a difference between it. I've always said I personally differ the art from the artist. And of course, sometimes that goes really close to each other, but I don't believe for a moment that anybody on the developer team of this game is transphobic. Hell, they even put a transgender person in the game.
Yeah, and I saw shit going around on Twitter. Frankly,
Which is, by the way, the best character.
Frankly, I don't know a lot about it, but there was like shit like, oh my god, they put a trans in the game, and then they call them something with Sir something something, and I was like, man, you're like pulling it out of proportion so fucking hard right now. Like, you're legit, as I would say it with my friends, you're looking for smoke, man. Like, chill the fuck out, let people enjoy their shit, and if you don't agree with them, block them. Do whatever the fuck you want with them, but don't bother them. Let them do whatever the fuck they want. And of course, just like you said, there's a fine line between, you know, doing something that you want and something that's just not morally okay and should be objectively just wrong. But when it comes to this, it's like, let people be. If people enjoy it, just let them play it. J.K. Rowling didn't even touch something of this game. Okay, she gets money, I guess, but if I want to enjoy the game, I do it. Like, that's how easy it is, no?
And even, this might be a bit of a controversial opinion.
Oh, that's that. Those are the best ones.
Even if some morals and values are like completely wrong and very fucked up, and people might say they don't deserve any form of respect, I would still say we should listen to those morals. Not because we agree with them, but because if one person is raising their concerns and is speaking about how they feel something is this fucked up or have this very weird way of thinking, they are never alone. There are always people that think about it. And if you ignore them, what's going to happen? That's going to manifest, it's going to get bigger, and long term is going to be a bigger and bigger problem. Hear them out, find out why they are saying such things, and try to look for a solution. But don't cancel them outright. Don't refuse to listen to anyone, because that's exactly how psychopaths get born and get raised. So please, even if you don't fully agree, even if you think like, what the fuck are you saying? Listen someone out. Try to find why they're thinking like this. And of course, you can still be like, what the fuck are you saying?
You're a psycho.
At least try to listen.
I mean, at least you've listened. I understand what you're saying. And yeah, I mean, you were a bit based there, not gonna lie, but I do feel like you were speaking. You were definitely speaking some facts. But yeah, it all comes down to that basically. Hogwarts Legacy. I honestly, frankly, couldn't care less about what people do with the game. I'm probably gonna buy it. It looked great. I think it feels great to play as well. I think you started playing as well, or haven't you yet?
I have played for like 6-7 hours at this point.
Yeah, I thought so.
I'm absolutely loving it. The combat feels very nice to play. There's a lot of customization there. The characters look great. It's fun to interact with the world. But the best thing about everything is when you walk around Hogwarts, you feel like you're actually there, and the world feels so alive, because you're like walking over a bridge and there's randomly like a guy in a broom flying above you, you know? You're walking in the gardens and there's like flying watering cans, making sure everything is going right there.
Yeah.
It feels alive, and that's what makes the universe so beautiful to me to go back to once. So I've always dreamed of going to that school, walking around its halls, and I'm actually doing it, and I fucking love it.
Yeah, because I've tried to like not look too much into the game as to not get spoiled that much when I eventually will buy it, but it is like full-on open world, right? Like after like the introduction scene and like the tutorial-esque thing is, you can basically go wherever the fuck you please, right?
Basically, of course, you are locked behind some things if you don't progress the main story.
Yeah.
But you can walk wherever you want. You can explore the entirety of Hogwarts, go next to it, like the Hogsmeade area. You can go through the entire world, but of course, some things you can do because you need to advance the main story. But you're free to go anywhere you want.
Yeah. Those are what I like to call dangerous games. I load them up at like 9 p.m. and then I look out my window and it's like, wait, the sun is coming up already? I see that I've got like uni in 2 hours. I was like, yeah, exactly. So dangerous games for sure, but hella fun ones at that. Is there anything else that you want to release about either this game or, you know, another subject that you would like to talk about before you start ending this one?
If you want to play the game, play it. Believe in yourself and trust your own morals and values, but be sure to listen to other people's opinion as well, as it's the only way to move forward to a brighter tomorrow.
Damn, that's a yearbook quote. I feel like you're always coming with these yearbook quotes at the end of a podcast. It's like, holy shit.
I'm speaking, I don't know, man. I want to be a motivational speaker once, you know.
I feel like you could do it. Not gonna lie. There are not a lot of people that I know that have it in them, but you just might. You just might.
Thank you. Thank you. I appreciate it. You don't want to say anything.
No, I think we're gonna round it out for today because that was my PC sound. I don't know why I looked at that. Anyways, it's been a pleasure again. 1 hour and 5 minutes down the line. This was episode 3. As you guys have seen, the upload schedule is a fucking mess. Not gonna lie. Sometimes it's a Sunday night, sometimes it's a Tuesday night. I'm gonna try to do it most Tuesday. I feel like Tuesday are still the best day, right, Thomas?
They should be the best, but sometimes life goes a different way than you want it to.
We'll see. Anyways, if you want to stay in touch with us, you know what I'm about to tell you. Find us over on Twitter at @TheCasterCurse. You also can find our personal Twitters right below at ThomSonic and at RoseBND. You can find us over on YouTube, Spotify. I mean, you probably know because you're listening right now. So if you hear this, you're doing great. We appreciate you a lot. We appreciate you for listening. We really enjoy doing this every single week. Next week, we're going to dive more into what the fuck's going on with LEC. LE series will still keep going on, so make sure you be there. My personal interpreter right next to me, right over there, is still doing great. Thank you, Thomas. And guys, we'll see you on the next episode.